Hello, I'm John Furrier with theCUBE. We are here at the Arista headquarters for Arista 2.0. This is their Analyst Day kind of summary, kind of debrief. Ken Duda is President and CTO, and Todd Nightingale, President and Chief Operating Officer here in the campus. Gentlemen, thanks for spending the time.
Thanks, John.
The big Analyst Investor Day. Arista 2.0, this is kind of the next gen, next level Arista. The world's in a good spot for you guys. Large scale computing, network fabrics are changing, connectivity is central, software is critical as a moat for companies, but also for customers. As we look at the AI wave coming, and the apps and the infrastructure changeover, this is the best time to be in hardware, software, and networking. Ken, your smile, we'll start with you. This meeting really kind of sets the table. What's the aha moment?
Oh, look, I mean, we're so delighted with how things have gone and for the potential for things to continue for Arista and for the industry at large. We see there's just a huge opportunity in AI, of course, that's blindingly obvious, but we feel like our differentiation there is really clear. We're building better fabrics, better switches, based on better software. And those same key software innovations that have led to our success in the data center, we believe are relevant not only to AI, but also for a major push into campus networks, where we now have a complete portfolio and see a lot of growth ahead.
Todd, I was just in San Francisco yesterday for a big chief investment summit. These are the big money that invests in the VCs and where people go to for the big capital. Infrastructure is sexy. I mean, everyone was talking about enterprise and the infrastructure, and everyone's now realizing that there's still a lot more work going on at the infrastructure level. We're talking about chips, networking, and this abstraction layers that AI is enabling. You've had many ventures, you've been in this for a while, as Ken has in Arista. This is an interesting time where the mainstreaming of kind of infrastructure's here. The investors are all kind of looking at it, they're unpacking. It's not about the agents yet, but all the work that's being done now is kind of plumbing the layer and the existing stuff. What's your take on this? Because as the investors try to squint through, they're trying to connect the dots. What is this all about?
I mean, I think the big secret is infrastructure has always been sexy.
Yeah,
Hardware
right.
has always been sexy.
Amen.
Because it's the building block. As we've seen big transitions, like transitions to the cloud, transitions to AI, the fundamentals of that are the infrastructure that make it possible. We saw this enormous surge in hyperscalers building out infrastructure that made this enormously nimble software and cloud experience possible. And now we're seeing a similar kind of enormous build in the AI world. These things come from the chips, the hardware platforms, the embedded operating systems that make that technology possible. It's always been here. It's always been sexy. I'm excited to see so much attention to it right now.
Ken, as the co-founder of Arista 2, you're starting to see the mainstreaming of data centers. Everyone's talking about the large-scale data centers being built out. This has been the bread and butter for you guys in the traditional sense. Now that's mainstream because now everyone now knows you need for society, for the apps, all this in-migration of new capabilities is going to be enabled by a next level. As a CTO and looking at the product and the platform, what is the keys to success as the investors and the market tries to skate with the puck, not just skate to where the puck's going to be?
The key to success is to start off with the right fundamentals and then apply them in the right way. The Arista EOS stack with the EOS operating system as its foundation, one operating system that runs across all the products, whether you're in the AI backend network, whether you're in the front end network, a general purpose data center, or the campus, the WAN, the interconnect, the core, service provider core. It's the same OS running everywhere. The power of having that one software image lets us really focus our efforts and creates structural differentiation that applies across the entire portfolio, the entire enterprise. And then taking that foundation and then applying that in the right way, applying it to AI workloads by integrating visibility into AI primitives into our CloudVision system, or applying it to campus, where we're taking the basic EOS stack and giving you end-to-end visibility, same tools, same troubleshooting, same deployment tools, whether you're in a data center, the campus, or anywhere in between. That gives operators the ability to troubleshoot, pinpoint problems, regardless of where they are across the stack, because the whole thing is mission critical. It's not like data centers are more mission critical in the campus. When the network ain't working, ain't nothing working. Yeah. And having that level of reliability and that level of visibility across the whole thing, again, a structural differentiation that I think really sets Arista apart as a vendor.
Todd, obviously the market's hot, it's growing. On the business growth for Arista, what does this mean for the market for you guys as you look at this network operating system becoming the key fabric, because it's now more data centers, more connection points, more software layer. What's the business growth outcome from this?
I mean, I think there's really two significant factors, and I'm new to Arista, and so I'm getting to look at it with new eyes. The most important one, and I know what we'll all be talking about today and for the next couple weeks after our Investor Day, this enormous opportunity in front of us. We see this explosion of growth in AI infrastructure. It's remarkable. I don't think the industry has ever seen anything like it, and the capability of that technology to change so many people's lives is just driving enormous investment there. We also see that opportunity in the campus. I mean, the campus is an enormous, enormous market, and like to Ken's point, there is no such thing as a network that isn't mission critical. If the data center is down, it doesn't work. If the campus is down, it doesn't work. If the store is down, it doesn't work. If the manufacturing plant, these are all mission critical networks. It's time to bring that reliability of the cloud that Arista has always been able to deliver to every site.
How has campus changed? Because some people might have a visualization, I'm just running some line connection points between buildings and packets are moving from point A to point B. What's different about campus now?
I think that there is a real fundamental understanding now that cloud connectivity is the name of the game. Like the idea that your campus is going to be able to operate if the cloud connection goes down. Maybe the lights will stay on, but will people be able to get their jobs done? Is a retail store able to operate? Is a hotel, manufacturing plant? It's fundamental that cloud connectivity is core. It's why our VeloCloud acquisition, bringing true redundant SD-WAN connectivity into our portfolio, is so important. Like there is no network without the internet.
I think that's exactly right, and I think there's another thing which has changed a lot in the campus over the last several years. It's this sheer variety of devices connecting into this thing. You think about a stadium, you think about a manufacturing facility, you think about a hospital, and the number of net connected devices. They can be customer devices, they can be employee bring your own device, they can be IT issued, they can be infrastructure equipment of all types. And this all needs to share a network. And as the security environment gets more challenging every year, the importance of enabling secure connectivity for all of those different types of devices has really grown. And Arista has a unique approach to keeping separate devices separated from each other, so that if somebody breaks in and attacks one device, they can't then move laterally across the entire campus. We think that's going to be an important differentiator in the campus as well.
What's the customer perspective? Because I'm hearing the demand is high. Connected devices, scale, capability and scale. Talk about the demand side of the customer. What are they looking at? What's the customer staring down when they look at the road ahead for them, as they look at setting the table for the next generation of new applications they might not see? They got to really start thinking differently.
I think this is something that's in Arista's DNA, is like just maniacal focus on the customer, on the network operator, the IT teams that deliver this. And even if you look at the campus, I think it's true in the data center too, though. There is a little bit of an overwhelming amount of complexity. In the campus, you're looking at routing and SD-WAN, switching and wireless, all with different specialty domains, with different levels of expertise. You're looking at all the network security, the microsegmentation, the NAC solution, not to mention all the desktop security and SASE architecture that has to be attached to that. It is an enormous, enormous undertaking. It's why I think the whole industry is looking to AI to build an assistant that's capable of synthesizing that. And it's why completing our portfolio is so important to us, so that we can deliver a complete and seamless solution with Arista management, Arista EOS across the board, and just radically simplify this complexity for the operator.
Ken, what's your thoughts on this complexity thing? It's not just keeping the lights on or making things run. Cybersecurity alone is a nightmare. It's the complex. What's the customer's view on the complexity there?
Oh, it's overwhelming. I mean, a number of different types of devices, applications, protocols, types of network physical layers that you've got to deal with as a network operator today. It's just overwhelming. I think that Todd's exactly right. That's one of the benefits of the AI assistant, is trying to help people bridge into all of those different systems. But a second element of that is where the EOS architecture, having a single EOS streaming state into a single network data lake, with then CloudVision providing visibility, automation, provisioning across that entire thing, is a dramatic reduction in complexity. I've heard from customers that when they're working with our competitors, they have over 200 different network switching images installed across the switches in their estate. With Arista, you only need one. That is a 200 to 1 reduction in complexity for them.
You know, I love this large scale market, whether it's large scale compute systems, large scale networks, because you get large scale, you have large complexity. And one of the things I've learned over the past year, because we just opened up a new studio at the New York Stock Exchange for theCUBE, I kind of hear what the finance people talking about. And they're like trying to figure out the earnings. But what's happening is people are looking at the product-led growth as a new factor. Oh, earnings, they know what that is, they can do all that. But the smart money is looking at the products. And product-led growth is more of an internal tech term that we talk about in Silicon Valley. Software solves a lot of the complexity. I really like to talk about the software because people are looking at, one, obviously hardware speeds and feeds. We love hardware, and that's back. But there's still software. There's more software than hardware. That seems to be the trend over the past decade. Talk about the Arista's approach to software. Because all the analysts go, what's your moat? That'll be looked at for sure. But let's unpack the software advantage, because that's going to, at least to me, be the key to understanding scale and complexity.
Yeah, I mean, I think the software advantage goes back to day one of this company, that we began Arista committed to the idea of doing network software right, which means that instead of rushing from release to release and trying to shove as many features out the door as fast as possible, you take the time to take care of the software, to grow it properly, because hardware platforms come and go, but software's lifespan is potentially infinite. And we've made that investment in EOS from the very beginning, on the architecture side, but also on the testing side. We've invested massively in fully autonomous testing, hundreds of thousands of test cases, running 24/7 across all of our products and all of our releases and our in-progress development as well. And by focusing all of our efforts on that one image, we're able to get all the features working together properly and get it all tested and getting a working solution delivered. I think one of the things that Todd was surprised by when he came in and joined Arista was that we have in-service upgrades, which is of course very important for network operator continuity. They actually work because we have an architectural foundation for them that makes sense, it's well engineered, and then a testing regime that tests over and over the ability to upgrade from one version to another across the different hardware platforms. That's how you get stuff that actually works, and nothing matters in networking more than it working.
Yeah, I'd love to get your thoughts on something. You brought up the networking side of it. When I talk to some of the large banks, some of the large customers that you guys have and others, the common theme is we're trying to take more out of the network to make it simpler. You mentioned one Arista does a lot of different things. How do you compare what you guys are doing to, say, the competition or what customers are trying to do? Because they have a footprint challenge too. They're trying to reduce the number of hops or connections, certainly on the networking side as these systems are going. They're trying to take stuff out of the network in terms of that's the bottleneck. What have you guys learned in your approach, are areas to optimize for? If you're talking to a customer, how should they be thinking about their design? How should they think about how do I reset or re-platform? And maybe that's a bad word, but maybe build on top of, or because they can't just change a lot of things. They're building on top of, I won't say brittle, but like this infrastructure, it's like working. Don't break what's not, don't fix what's not broken. What is the strategy to set up the new architecture? Take more stuff out or add stuff in? That seems to be a common question I get a lot.
Well, I think brittle is the right word. There's users around the world running important networks, and they're using technology that's very featureful, but brittle. And so it gets configured very carefully by an army of people, and then not only do they not change the config, they're afraid to upgrade it. I mean, that is
Security nightmare right there.
every time the security team convinces a network operator, oh, it's time to upgrade, and very reluctantly do it. It takes another army of people.
And that's time too, by the way. They have to kind of do the paralysis by analysis.
Not only does it take downtime, but it takes risk. They have to endure the risk that something will go wrong. They'll have to scramble to revert the change if they can. It is a enormous complexity. And this was the most shocking thing coming to Arista and seeing the way this should have always been done. Not only with one single software release that is tested with 20 or 25 years of testing behind it, that the reliability is so solid, but the upgrade process is truly hitless. It's not a science project. It's not an interesting feature. Every customer.
Let's take us through an example, because this is a good illustration. Take me through that scenario, because I think that's realistic. I would support that. Take me through that. What happens next? I call up Arista. No one calls anymore, but I hit the website. What happens next?
You could call. There's a sales line. I urge you to call. Yeah.
They'll DM you. No, but take me through that upgrade, because this is some people think it's a little bit more scarier than it can be. Is it easy? I mean, take me through what that looks like.
I mean, don't take it from
Yeah,
me.
Ken, take me through.
Yeah, you get the new image, you load it into CloudVision. You set up the rules for what image is supposed to run on which switch. You open a change control. In the change control, you specify the scope of switches affected. You specify the upgrade strategy. Do you want to do one switch at a time? Do you want to do first all your leaf switches and then one spine at a time? Do you want to do an A side and then a B side? There's different ways to schedule it. Then you configure the pre-upgrade checks and the post-upgrade checks. And so then CloudVision runs the whole upgrade completely automatically. It runs the pre-upgrade check, takes a snapshot of all the control plane state, loads the new software onto the switch, does the in-service upgrade, then does a post-upgrade snapshot and post-upgrade health checks. And if anything looks off, if the health check fails post-upgrade, or if the snapshots don't match, like you had 26 BGP peers before, now you only got 24, maybe that's a problem, then we pause the upgrade and give the customer a chance to then look into the situation, maybe roll forward, maybe roll back, but it's all automatic under CloudVision control. And then I think, if I could go back to your previous question, John, because you asked about what should people be thinking about when they're doing a new build out or sort of modernizing their infrastructure. And one of the, and also especially from the point of view of complexity, that one of the main sources, look, diversity may be the spice of life, okay? But it's not the spice of your infrastructure. When everything's a little different, that's a major source of complexity. And with Arista validated designs, you pick a design model for your network fabric. You don't configure the switches, you configure the design model. And then AVD, the validated designs, generates the configs for all the boxes, generates documentation that explains how it all works, and generates test cases that prove that it's all working. Then you roll it out either with CloudVision or with Ansible, and you've got that kind of infrastructure as code, that kind of cloud scale approach, but applied in the context of the enterprise.
You bring up a great point. I saw a slide I want to get to at the iceberg and what's under the iceberg, but put a pause on that for a second. You mentioned network operating system earlier. I find this funny because we cover the large scale systems, AI factories and all these big clusters. And I heard a comment, the network is the operating system for the factory. What's happening is the network OS is now the new OS, not like the way Linux used to be on a server. You load Linux on a server, not many people know even how to do that, or even the young guns have never loaded Linux on anything. But Linux used to be the OS on the server. Now these large-scale systems, because of the networking fabrics, the networking is the OS for the whole system. For that reason, it kind of wasn't like that. It was kind of had some other importance at the infrastructure layer, but at the kind of this important compute layer where the apps are using data and AI, networking is the OS. So this makes sense for you guys. Do you see Arista as being that network OS for enterprise and customers? Is that the Arista 2.0? Am I getting that right? Or
I mean, I think the analogy is a good one. You don't want a blue screen of death your network, because then nothing else works. Ken said it right before. Like, if the network isn't working, ain't nothing working.
There you go. All right.
I'll work on
The
it.
blue screen of death. Last time I saw that, by the way, was at an airport. So we also the Delta Airlines CrowdStrike situation. That was a Windows problem, but that's an OS. Again, to your point, operations, downtime, disruption. That's the control plane now. It seems to be that's moved up the stack a bit. I mean, I remember back in the old days, the networking folks say, hey, we got to move up the stack. It's always been kind of the thing. That's kind of happened.
Yeah, I mean, the criticality of the connectivity is paramount. Everything is offline. I was lucky enough to lead a company for the last 3 years that, Fastly, we talked earlier about that uses Arista exclusively in every data center, more than 100 pops around the world, and the reliability of the software, the reliability of the networking equipment was remarkable. I'd never seen anything like it. But it wasn't just the planned uptime. It was all of the upgrades and the changes that mattered, because not a second of downtime was acceptable at any time of day, under any circumstances. It wasn't, that type of solution just wasn't possible without Arista. And that is not just the case anymore in large cloud services. Every hospital, every government building, every military installation, every school and business requires that type of reliability.
We got two presidents here running the tech and the operations and go to market and the customers. I have to ask this question, and maybe I might misspeak. Don't take it personal. Arista has been kind of like this luxury product, very high speed. You mentioned mission critical. Now that as things move up the stack, it's now mainstream. And so what I'm seeing in the investor meeting is that it's growth opportunities for you guys, both technical opportunities with headroom there and also business. Obviously, Arista is doing well on the business side, so congratulations to the company. But as this Arista 2.0 can take that quality to the mainstream, what's the strategy? Is it to educate people on the enterprise more? Is it to, how do you take that to every network, every enterprise? Is it the product? Is it education? Can you guys share your thoughts? And maybe I'm calling it a luxury product. I don't want to make it sound niche, but Arista's got it known for its quality. You mentioned some of the things you do on the engineering side, but it's going next level because of just the market.
Yeah, look, I think on the technology side, I'll let Ken discuss that, but there's a reality of bringing that premium product, let's not call it luxury, premium product to everyone. And that's what this focus on the campus really is like bringing that reliability to everyone. We're never going to be trying to make the cheapest product in the world. That's not who we are. And I like your idea of like, look, we have to educate, but for us, it's not about educating the customers. It's about focusing on them. They know that downtime is treacherous. They know that they want the highest quality outcome for their users possible. Network operators are maniacally focused on delivering the best possible.
So it's not hard to get their attention. They already know who you are.
What it is about finding them and getting an opportunity to compete for that business. Every single campus deal, especially now with VeloCloud, every data center deal, every data center is mission critical. And it's on us to go out and make sure that we're able to compete for all that business and find every network operator who wants to get rid of downtime on their.
So on the technology side, Ken, okay, luxury, I don't want to imply high price, but I mean, you pay for what you get for in the market. You guys have a good product. I don't really know the pricing, so maybe we'll talk about that offline. What's the product opportunity? Because now there's more demand for networking. That's there. AI in networking is hot. What's the view for taking it to the masses from the product side?
Yeah, well, look, first, John, as you may know, we are already the #1 player in the data center space. So I feel we've already reached a kind of a scale business in that respect. We're not a niche player by a long shot, especially in the data center. In the campus, we have a lot of work to do. And we haven't had a complete portfolio for very long here. The full access point portfolio, all the campus switches, the ruggedized switches. There's a lot of elements that you need to have in the product portfolio to really address the full campus use case, which we now have. Yeah. Now, customers only refresh their campuses every so often, so maybe it's every 7 to 9 years. So there's going to be an incremental process of customers realizing, to Todd's point, that we do have that complete portfolio, data center, across the WAN, all the way through the campus. And then getting that opportunity to to fight for that business. And what's really going well for us, or what's sort of a strong force on our side, is the fact that the campus guys can talk to the data center guys. They've probably already got Arista and ask them, hey, how's that working for you? And they're going to get an answer, which is like, the product, it just works. The support is there. I mean, we have the highest net promoter score in the industry by, Todd, you remember the number? It's like 40 points or something? It's crazy. So I feel like that's really the way we get into the campus, is that as these opportunities open up over a period of 5, 7, 9 years, we just need to be at the table, and we're going to get our fair share.
Yeah, you got the product portfolio. Great. That's awesome. Let's get into the AI. Can you guys define what is AI for networking? And we've heard the phrase, there's AI for networking and networking for AI. Unpack that. Let's define it, because I think there's a lot of misinformation out there around. Everyone's AI washing. First of all, if you're not an AI company, no one says I'm not an AI company unless they're truly not an AI company. There's certainly a lot of that going on, but there is real AI going on in what you guys are doing. What is the AI contribution? What are you guys working on?
Yeah.
Define it for us.
There's a ton of business in building out networks for AI clusters. And we see that not just in the big, massive hyperscalers, but we see that in enterprise customers. Super interesting deployments in tech, but there's a ton of folks who are using AI who are going to buy that capacity as well. What I think it doesn't get enough airtime. Like what as an industry we're not talking about enough is not networking for AI, but AI for networking. And Ken's strategy around an AI assistant is phenomenal.
Okay, Ken, unpack it for us.
Yeah, on the AI for networking side, I feel like all of the core technologies are now clear. LLMs, embedding models, vector databases, like we have all the pieces. And the challenge is to assemble them into the right order to really help the network operations team, to be an assistant to the network. This is where I'm really excited about our AVA strategy. AVA is Arista's autonomous virtual assist. And I really want to focus on the 2 A's there. Autonomous, not just a chatbot. It's not just a thing that sits there and waits for you to type in a question, generate some answer and then goes back to sleep again. No, it's always running, always watching, always learning what's going on in your network, always monitoring the events that are showing up, flagging things that might be important, suggesting things that you might want to look at. And then when something does come up, it's troubleshooting and having all that context, that foundation of state in our network data lake to assist with the troubleshooting operation, to point out the things that are different now than they were yesterday, to point out the other things that happened around the same time as the incident that you're looking into. Being able to make those connections is so important. But I think the other A is also really important, which is the assist part. And maybe I already made this point, and sorry if I'm repeating myself a bit, but AI is not going to do your job for you. Okay, the media loves to talk about this. They're coming for our jobs, And that's just not what's happening here. Now, look, that may happen someday, okay? But it's going to take another fundamental improvement in technology before AI can actually perform at the level of human experts, the level of top sort of human network operators. However, the AI of today can be a fantastic assistant.
The productivity side of AI, I think, again, the insiders that are kind of doing the real work will say this. It's an assistant to a superpower human who has skills. And if you look at the productivity numbers, we did some research on this, the professional and mid-sized level employees in all organizations become greater with AI. The entry level has been harder. And you're seeing even people coming out of computer science and other disciplines. Those were the jobs that the coding used to do, but coding is more of an assistant to the senior people. So you're seeing a lot more productivity coming out of the mid and professional level positions. Now in engineering, networking, that's like having your own network operation team for you at your disposal. You guys have a lot of data. Everyone in networking knows there's a ton of data going on. So what is that step function gain, or improvement I should say, for the professional who's got the hard job? I mean, cybersecurity by itself is its own animal with networking, because it's kind of sistered up against networks as well, because there's a relationship there. But what is the advantage that mid-person professional, and then the entry level? How do you get that level? Does that become automated? Because autonomous will probably minimize some of the grind, but it also supercharges the productivity of the teams. Can you guys share your thoughts on that? Do you agree or?
Yeah, I mean, I tell you, I probably don't agree with that entirely. There are networks of varying levels of complexity and sophistication, and different levels of expertise are needed. An AI assistant expands the capability of that person, and in a lot of ways, I think it can increase the learning curve of early career folks who are entering the space. An enormous barrier to entry into network engineering is once you understand the theory, the conceptual idea of how to build a network, whether it's the layer 2, layer 3 divide, or application filtering, or awareness, or whatever it happens to be, security attach, zero-touch networking, et cetera. The implementation takes years to pick up.
Do you think it's an opportunity for entry level?
The nuances of how to deploy in the CLI, the slight differences in syntax and context, et cetera, like an AI assistant can fill an enormous amount of those holes and make early in career folks more powerful and actually accelerate that learning curve, make it possible for them to be able to deploy more and more sophistication earlier in their career, which is incredibly powerful. I think of it as an acceleration of the learning curve, not a abandonment.
It's not a shut door. It's an open door.
Not. Yeah.
So it's a faster path.
And it doesn't seem like there's going to be any lack of networks to manage anytime soon.
Yeah, it's plenty of opportunities in networking. I'm sure you agree. You're shaking your head. Okay, so let's put that. That's a good call out. All right, what is the advantage then as AI? What's in it for me? I'm watching. I'm like, okay, what does Arista bring to me if I'm running my networks and building my future infrastructure with Arista? What do I get with the AI?
Look, first we have the best switches for building the fabric for your AI systems, okay? So that's on the networking for AI side. On the AI for networking side, what you get with the Arista's AI is an integrated assistant that's looking across your entire estate, that knows about not just our products, but also products from other vendors, and can help you make those connections, help you find the right tool for the job, help you notice something that wasn't obvious, running checks in the background and flagging the results that are interesting. It just makes your job easier.
You mentioned that AI, you got all the piece parts. There's probably going to be more coming, just reasoning, but I hear your point. I want to ask you about the data lake, the single data lake. I love that slide. It speaks to kind of the market. There's a lot of different things coming together. The old school interoperability used to be kind of a simple definition. Now it's like coexistence with a lot of different platforms has become a big platform feature. Why is that important? What are some of the advantages of having a single data lake? What do you guys do differently? Explain that piece. I think this is a part that could be confusing, what a data lake is and what it means to a network.
Yeah, for sure. So Arista has, from the very beginning, focused on the state of the network. And by state, I mean all of the attributes, all of the temperature sensors and power supply voltages, all of the link status and signal integrity measurements, all of the control plane behaviors of routes being advertised and learned and changing, all of the management plane activity of people signing onto the network or making administrative changes. We've captured all of that current state in the database on the devices. And then about 10 years ago, we realized, wait a minute, we have all of the state across all these devices. What if we took a cloud scale, sort of scale out database and brought a copy of all of that up into the cloud? And not just the current state, but actually a time series. So now you can look at what was the state of my network at any point of time, in addition to what is the state right now. And just giving that network-wide visibility is already a big win. But then that data lake lets us actually do two other things. First is pull in sources of data from third-party systems, maybe as simple as DNS, or Netbox, or your network access control system, or your firewalls, or vCenter, the virtualization application layer. Pull in data from all of those sources. So now we can map from the things that are easy to measure, like IP addresses, to the things that the operator really cares about, which are the users, the applications, and the services that those users are using. And we can establish in NetDL all of those mappings, and then do that translation. And since it's all a time series, we can do that over time. So if we have flow records, and there's a vMotion event in the middle, we can say, oh yeah, those flows are part of this application at this time, but then at this next time, yeah, it's a different IP address, but it's the same application. And we can make those connections from what's going on at the low level to what's going on up at the application.
So all the software comes together. You're number one in the enterprise, but you got edge, you mentioned campus is hot, you got the product portfolio, you got SD-WAN, you got edge, you got the cloud. That's distributed computing. So if you have the data, does the data lake kind of connect that? I mean, how should I think about
That's the great thing, right? It's one data lake for the entire estate. So we get information from your data centers, from your campus, and the WAN that interconnects them all into one place that we can then run.
So that's the strategic piece
Yeah,
for all
exactly.
If you look across the industry, so many people in networking and across IT are looking at how do I bring an AI agent to bear. The problem is that you have to collect data from every different system. Arista did that 10 years ago.
Right.
NetDL brings historical and real-time data into a single place in our cloud, and AVE is able to sit on top of that. Like it's a fundamental tactical advantage.
You saw the future 10 years ago. By accident on purpose, or you master visionary, kind of had the AI's coming?
I'll take luck over skill any day.
Well, you do the right things happen. It's the universe. Todd, I have to ask you, you're new, you said earlier, you have fresh eyes. We've known each other, we've been covering your career. You know networking, you know cloud, you know the market. What's Arista 2.0 to you? Because, this is larger scale, it's distributed computing with software intelligence. It's moved up the stack from whatever you want to call it. That's clearly happening, or whatever that definition is. It's part of the key everything, as it always was. What's your view of Arista? Why join? What's the future look like? What are you excited about?
Yeah, I joined because the team is remarkable, and the work is, I'm sure, the most important I've ever done in my career. Every network needs this kind of reliability, like demands this type of user experience for their end users, but every operator, the actual network engineers around the world who get exposure to Arista never leave. In fact, an enormous amount of the way that we enter new accounts is by someone moving from an account already using Arista and going to a
This
new
stuff out of
company
here,
who
bring
has
in the
to-
Arista.
has to bring it on board.
Exactly.
The opportunity to bring that type of reliability that mission critical large scale data centers have used for decades to every network in the world. That's why I joined Arista. I'm certain that is the path forward for the industry.
Ken, as the co-founder, what's your view of Arista 2.0? Because now you have a whole nother world, and maybe I'm trying to find a description for it. Moving up the stack may not be the right one, but how will you describe this effect? Because maybe it's horizontal, scalable, as well as,
Yeah, it's about leveraging what we've done so well over the last 20 years across the entire estate, not just data center, but get the whole thing under Arista. We think we can make a huge improvement into the way modern enterprises build and operate their networks.
I think Todd mentioned the agents, and not to get into the hype cycle because it's super hyped up. You can't have good agents without good data and good workflow understanding, and if you have that system, you're set up for agents. I'm not saying you guys probably have agents up and running, but what's your view of agents?
Wait for the demo, man. Yeah. Wait for the demo.
Okay, we got demos. All right, so the investors care about money. So let's get into that final line of questioning. Growth. Investors want to squint through the products, look at the growth. What's the business doing? Where's it going to come from? You mentioned cycle times on campus upgrades. That's just cyclical in the business. What's going on with Arista's business? How does this translate into good business?
I think you're seeing that we've seen over the last 5 years this enormous growth. And so few companies reach this scale at this growth rate. It is a phenomenon in the industry for sure, and it's getting us some attention, which is helping us, I think, with the bigger picture, which is bringing new customers, new users to the platform. That's the real core to sustained growth, not for the next 18 months, but for the next 10 years. Is ensuring that Arista, that we have the opportunity to compete and the solutions needed to deliver the best customer experience for every network in the world. As far as the revenue projections and the gross margins, I think we'll have to wait for Jayshree and Chantel later today.
On the product-led growth, again, I bring this up because I know the smart money is looking at product-led growth, Ken. So like when you look at data centers, not that they were never hot, but the cloud had their moment, continues. to continue to grow. But data center, where the data is for the crown jewels for most companies, you're seeing the on-premise activity going on because a lot of these AI systems are going to be parked next to the data, or there'll be new manufactured data centers. We're seeing that in the market. And then you got the edge, which with the small form factors, high functionality, they're kind of like mini data centers at the edge. It's not like just an edge device. And remember the old IoT days, you got a processor and power, it's an edge device. Now you got a data center at the edge. This is a game changer. That's going to provide some growth. So share your view of the headroom that's available from a product standpoint. What does this flower up into?
Look, networks become more important every year. And what you've just what you're just talking about here, the fact that edge compute is so important, the AI workload needs to push out to the edge to get you kind of the performance and scale that you need. And there are a lot of folks who need that continuity of operation. Hospitals, manufacturing sites, logistics, they co-locate their core applications in the facilities that make use of those applications for better survivability and better overall uptime. So yeah, you're absolutely right about that, and I think again, that's where this one EOS is so helpful, that we have the same operating system that's been so successful in the data center, also running in the campus, where it can perform traditional campus activities, or it can be the foundation of edge compute, exactly like you're talking about.
We've abstracted away all that complexity. It's just one big network.
That's exactly right.
At the end of the day.
That's right.
Yeah, nicely said.
Guys, thanks for spending the time with this CUBE exclusive, an Investor Day. Appreciate your time and conversation and sharing the data.
Thanks for the time.
Thanks, John. Our pleasure.
Thank you. I'm John Furrier with theCUBE here at Arista's headquarters for exclusive one-on-one with the presidents of Arista, breaking down the Investor Day presentation, the strategy, and just unpacking some of the core issues that is driving the growth of all enterprise, hyperscalers, neoclouds, edge devices. Every single part of society is now connected with technology, and it runs across a network, and it's going to be super important to our lives. Thanks for watching.